Hey, welcome back everyone, and in this video I'm gonna show you a bit different type of thing. These type of mobile menus in Axure. Now in Axure I showed you how to do responsive layouts with adaptive views, how you could an adaptive interface which would look good on a mobile device or a tablet. But I didn't really show how to design specific patterns and make them interactive. If you're here and you followed every session, it's probably not going to be anything new, but it's a good revisit and reinforcement of the ways and approach to, to animating different bits, different slides, just to reinforce it basically. And you know exactly if you have to design a mobile app or prototype mobile app or mobile website, you can do it in Axure rather than using anything else, or just do like a simple InVision, right? So let's dive right into it. I'm gonna show you how it's done. So I have this sketch mockup, which I really quickly put together. As you can see, I have a few screens. I have a default screen, which basically has a menu icon and some sort of content. Imagine that there is content. And if I, let's say, click on it, one menu, it flushes everything to the right, and you have a menu. Two is there is like a pop-up which basically slides down, so we can maybe make it overlay as well. And three is a totally different menu which basically has just icons. If you click on it, it basically expands and shuffles these bubbles into the screen, right? So it's pretty cool. So let me show you how it's done. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer all the assets to my Axure, where I just need to set the page dimensions to the iPhone 8, which is basically the size I'm targeting. You can set it anything you wish in your prototypes. I'm gonna go ahead and just go one by one and copy the assets. Boom. So this is our default state, and if I preview, as you can see, I already have my mockup. That's how it would look like on a mobile device, but it doesn't do anything. To achieve our first example, where it all slides, to the left, I need to kind of like recreate the same thing. So I'm gonna start with a simple bit, like replacement of the icon, let's say. Whenever I click on a menu icon, it transforms into also that X icon too. So as you can see, I just resized it really quick. Convert it to dynamic panel with right click, gonna give it a name, which is basically menu icon, let's say, or menu CTA. It's much clearer. And inside I have a state 1, which is basically menu, and I'm gonna have another state which is gonna be basically close. And if I go to a close state, all I have to do is just paste in our X icon like so. Let me actually redo it. It's a bit blurry for some reason. Plugins, Axure, copy selection, paste. Boom, that's much better. Cool, so now we have a simple switch which doesn't really do much. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna make it flip. And that's gonna be quite simple. So I'm gonna go, this is our thing which returns us back to the previous state. So I'm gonna say new interaction, on click, set panel state, we have menu CTA, and then we're gonna set it to menu. You can animate if you wish, but I'm gonna keep it simple and instant. And then I'm just gonna copy that hotspot with the behavior to our previous, the menu slide like so, and just change, because we don't have to redo the same behavior, to close. So there is like a switch between one and another, simple loop. And if I preview, you're gonna see that it works to an extent. Boom, boom. Of course it doesn't open yet anything, but it does the trick and it does switch on its own. And so next is really just to think of how we're gonna do all that push of the things here. What I would do really is I would probably just group all that content I have on my screen and just name it content. So this is the container I'm gonna put all the information, images, text, app information type of thing. But additionally, what I have also need is that additional panel which is gonna slide into right? So let's go back to sketch, and I'm just gonna start copying bit by bit. And so I placed all the objects from my sketch. Now I just need to basically define this panel. It's quite simple because it's all full screen. I'm just gonna add a new block. Gonna remove the border, from the default state. We don't really need that. And just maybe give it a fill of white. And I'm just gonna place it underneath order send to back. And just group all those items into one single panel. Boom. And now from here, it's quite simple. Let me just give it a name. Let's say menu. I can either, you know, on click, just slide it in. So push everything in. Or I can overlap it if I want to. I can position it on top. So even if I, let's say, would position it here on top of it, like this, maybe that's the effect you're looking for. So I would just make it invisible and then find my menu call to action, which I have somewhere in our layers. As you can see, content menu CTA, double click. I can just literally tell it to, if on a switch, I also show our menu, and we can also animate it to the right. So slide to the right in, let's say, half a second, like so. And I'm also gonna copy that behavior to the second state of this icon. So let's say if we manage to close it somehow, I don't know how, because it's gonna overlay it, just hide it, slide to the left so it slides back in. Boom, and look at that, look at this. Boom, we created a simple menu which overlaps. There is no shadow, but you can see that it overlaps. And it works pretty well. But, you know, if this is the effect you're looking for, then all you have to do is just maybe push the X or add an X somewhere here, somewhere to close it. It's up to you. Then you can add also a shadow or a line, so it's, you know, it's separate and it's clear to the users. But, you know, it's what you're looking for, but it's not really what I'm looking for. I want to push everything, right? And so let me just make it visible again. And how I would do this, I would simply create an empty state, because we're going to animate it in, and I'm going to call this, let's say, expanded, and then I'm going to make a duplicate and call it collapsed, and push the collapsed up. Now in a collapsed one, we are expecting it to be totally empty, like so. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to tell the menu call to action to change the state and animate in, but also push it. So it's almost like a, you know, a horizontal accordion of sorts, if you remember my previous sessions, right? So I'm gonna go into a menu CTA, back to it. As you can see, I'm using the outline, the layers, because it's easier, because we have so many overlaps right now. It's just so easy to skip it. And in interactions, I'm gonna delete that show height, and I'm gonna add set panel state. Then we have menu, and I'm setting it to expanded, because at the moment it's collapsed, right? And I'm gonna animate it slide to the right in, let's say, 400. No animation out, because we're not animating anything. And then just push and pull widgets. And we're gonna tell it to the right as well. So it's gonna push everything to the right, right? That's pretty cool. And I'm also gonna now need to add the same statement, just deleting that show and hide. You see I copied it in. Command or Control C, Command or Control V, depends on which operating system you're on, but just reversing the behavior. And I'm gonna say slide left. So we are going back to collapsed on the X activation, and everything else is enabled. Boom. It instantly shifted everything. As you can see, it's not too bad. It's pretty mobile. But like, you know, if you have time, you can then play with it and maybe change the push-pull options, and maybe say that, you know, it can ease in, let's say, or ease out, so it slows down in the end, and just do it a bit quicker or something like that. So let's say this is 400. And now let's test it out. Let's see if it actually works. Yeah, you see now it's a bit more. Maybe you just need to slow down. But it sort of does the trick. And let's do the same for a close as well. Maybe just actually make it much slower. And let's see if that works. Yep, it does. And it has much smoother behavior, as you can see. So this is a menu, and this is how I would do it, let's say. It's quite neat. Now, we have another couple of examples remaining, which is this. It's quite easy to make it happen, now that you know how to make the other one. And also the bubble ones. I think it would be good to cover at least this one, and then probably that to keep it for like a totally separate session, because it's a bit much more complicated. Now so it's going to save time for you, so you're not just getting bored waiting for something exciting to happen, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and just recreate the page separately. So that's menu 1, just so you know exactly what's up. And menu 2 is gonna be totally different. The content, that's great. And let me just expand the other thing and just expand it, paste. So I'm just combining the elements from the other one as well as what I have here. Let me just order it back, delete the unnecessary background. Just center it as per our mockup in Sketch, more or less. You know, if you're a perfectionist, please go ahead and do your own justice to it. Expand it. And let me shift everything up. Boom. Closing it. And just giving it justice like so. Looks pretty good so far. Can't complain. Let me just center the actual box so it looks a bit... I don't think it has a shadow right now, but just in case. And as you can see, we have a box. So now, the idea is that when the user taps on a menu icon, this one is gonna go down and show. There are different ways to do so. You know, you can play with directions of what direction it's gonna show. But it's quite easy, so let me just hide it for now, let's say. And I'm gonna go to our outline back and just menu CTA. So this is the callout, the first one. And we don't really need the set panel state, we just need to show it because it's one state. Menu, show, and now here is where the interesting bit is. So you can either slide the panel down, you can slide it up, you can shift from different sides. It's really up to you, but I'm gonna slide it down because it's much more natural if you keep it, you know, where the trigger is, a menu trigger, just goes down. It's just, the users are gonna expect it, and as well their finger is already on there. So, you know, it's easy as that, we can just click one, right? And so I can fade it in, but I'm gonna slide it down. I'm gonna do it in, let's say, 800 ms. And I can also gonna bring it to front just in case there is overlap, so it's always the top layer. And that's about it. I'm just gonna do the same for hiding in the next state of this panel. Deleting a previous statement, hiding it quicker, like so. Even though I think it overlaps in our designs, which is not great, but let's preview and then make a how to escape option. Boom. So that's the menu. It's a bit slow, but as you can see, user can't escape right now, right? So we need to do something about it. First, I'm gonna make it faster really quick. 600 rather than that. And I'm gonna copy behavior where we are hiding it so I don't have to redo it. Command or Control C. And then here is where we can add an interaction. So I imagine it, let's say if we don't have an obvious physical button to escape, we can allow users to swipe and shift the panel away, right? That's pretty cool. So let me show you how it's done. So the suggestions in Axure 9 is already there. You see swipe left, swipe right. I'm just gonna select on swipe left, or I can click new interaction and find the on swipe left. You can also select on swipe right, and then I'm just gonna paste it. And in the pasted option, I just basically said when you swipe left, we're just gonna hide it. And I'm gonna do the same for swipe right, so we do justice. It's either direction or up. Also actually up. Pretty cool. It's gonna basically make it escape. You can also add a note to the users if they don't know about it. I would user test it because this is actually a terrible way to do so. I can't guarantee that users are not gonna know how to escape unless you also gonna add some sort of extension to this panel, like so. And in here, inside the panel, you're also gonna add a hotspot, let's say, like so. And so if the users tap on that green area, you just say on click, hide the menu, like so. So, you know, it's kind of like if user taps somewhere else but the panel, it just escapes, or they swipe. So we kind of covered most of it. We have the swipes. We have also if you click on somewhere else, and that works. Let's see if that actually pans out. Boom. If I click somewhere else, it escapes, but the switch didn't switch, which we might need to do. And then if I swipe, it escapes. If I show again, swipe the other way, it escapes. But I would also need to, you know, on swipes to make it go that direction. So it's much more natural. So I'm gonna go ahead and add, instead of slide up, we match the left because we swipe it left. Then we match it right because we swipe it right. And then we match it up because we swipe it up. Right? Cool. And now we would need to add the switch for the actual call to action, because you saw there is a delay. So I'm gonna, if every escape action, I'm gonna also say set panel state, menu, many CTA, not menu, to menu. I'm just gonna copy that statement so it's easy peasy to all the escape options, like so. Boom! Let's see if that works. Okay, and if I swipe left, it goes away. If I swipe right, it goes away. If I swipe up, it goes away. If I click somewhere else, it goes away. Simple as that. And that's how you do simple menus for mobile applications and mobile websites, whatever you want to prototype. But it gives you ideas of how to use the patterns in the best way possible. So I hope it's useful. As usual, give a like, subscribe to this channel, share with your friends who are, you know, into product design and UX. I really appreciate the feedback has been tremendous, and it's really awesome that you're actually learning and you find it really useful, and you know, you appreciate the format of these tutorials and general knowledge share. So I really appreciate it, and as per usual, stay tuned for more material, and I'll see you next time.